Dear brothers, one of the greatest blessings in my life has been watching my closest friends raise their kids. So these are men that pretty much you'll never see read about in newspapers, aren't on their social media accounts really at all, and are certainly not looking for any recognition whatsoever for what they do. They are quite simply good men for the sake of being good men. And their only goals are to be good husbands and good fathers. So as someone who, Lord willing, will have children of my own soon, I count myself pretty blessed to have such great examples in my peer group to look at when it comes to being a real man in this world. And one of the questions I was confronted with recently was, how do you maintain your fitness as a busy dad? So as someone who at the moment is not a father, I can't answer this in a personally direct way, but I can pull from those around me who have done an exceptional job at improving their fitness while also raising children, being a supportive husband, and crushing their work, their jobs. So the absolute best example of this is my best buddy. And seeing as he hates the socials, as he calls them, and wants absolutely no recognition for anything, I'm going to refer to him as Jay for this example. So Jay is in his mid-30s, married to an absolutely beautiful, beautiful human being, and they have two awesome boys under the age of 4. So Jay works somewhere upwards of 50 to 60 hours a week in a very busy and dynamic healthcare marketplace, and he's up early. Sometimes he gets home late. There are even nights where he's going to bring some work home with him. Although I dare say work is never going to be done when he is with his boys. If they're awake or if they're around, he's spending time with his boys. So there was a time when the homie was in relatively rough physical shape. Was working out, but pretty inconsistently. His diet was kind of going through a bunch of ebbs and flows. But once his oldest kiddo came around, he made the recognition that he had to make some changes in his life. So my buddy epitomizes what it means to be a man who leads his family by example. And he knew that his health and how he cared for himself was going to directly impact not only his wife, but his now children. And there was no way he was ever going to let his physical health get completely out of control. So how does a dude who at the time had no kids go on to not just have one, but 2 kids with an even busier work schedule and actually become healthier and more fit? So the first aspect of this was that he had to recognize that he was missing the mark physically. And he'll be the first to say this to you. He knew that he was overweight. He knew that he wasn't in great shape. He knew that this level of physicality was unacceptable. He knew that God calls us to be strong, able-bodied men that can protect our families. And he knew that his homie, that would be me, was going to hold him accountable. Don't get me wrong. Even with the extra weight on him, the dude is still a specimen and could still break me into a million pieces with his gigantic long hands. But he saw that he needed to right the ship a little bit. So he recognized that there was something wrong, part 1. Part 2, he then had to make a plan as to how he was going to address this. He set up a schedule to work out a few days a week at specific times when the boys were either napping or at school or somewhere else. But he made his fitness a priority in his life. This isn't necessarily or wasn't necessarily going to be an optimal schedule if he wanted to go compete in a powerlifting meet or weightlifting meet, or if he wanted to go do a triathlon, although he did do a sprint triathlon whilst having a pretty brand new baby. But it was basically a schedule where he took 30 to 60 minutes a few times a week and he devoted it to getting stronger and more fit. Best of all, he did this right in the comfort of his home. He got some equipment that he picked up through Marketplace or wherever and threw together some workouts to do. Nothing specific, no special workouts. He just started moving. He started lifting and he started training again. And he would even do like completely random workouts. He would shoot me text there. He's like, look what I just did. I'm like, that sounds terrible. Where'd you even find that? But there were times where he had to make adjustments because the boys had an appointment or he had something with work. But he always made sure that he got his quota of workouts in a week. His only goal was that he was going to do something a few days a week. It didn't matter if it was just a bike ride or if it was crushing his dumbbells or destroying his legs, which I always knew happened. Because I would always get this, and I still get this text, of the gif of the baby giraffe trying to get around. And I knew at that moment that he was crawling back into the house from the garage because his legs were destroyed. The most important part about all of this was that he was consistent. He always showed up on those days per week that he scheduled and he got his work in. He knew that by setting up his workouts and getting them done, he was going to get the results he wanted. The best part about this is that it also bled into the other aspect of him getting more healthy, which was his diet. He was more conscious about his eating. He was tightening up what he ate and being a little bit more religious about his schedule, which for any of you that have kids, that's awfully hard to do. Never mind with one kid, but try 2 boys who eat everything under the sun. He made the choice that he was going to be the leader of the family. And he was going to not only show his wife, but also his children the importance of taking care of his body. This isn't to say that my dude doesn't mess up some smoked meats. Guy can smoke anything. Unbelievable cook. Or make time for a cold brewski, or whip up some of his patented pumpkin pancakes, which would make even the most basic white girl faint. Me being included. The moral is he knows the importance of being consistent and not letting yourself get off the train for too long and just maintaining, being there, being disciplined. I have watched him now lose somewhere in the realm of 50 to 60 pounds. It may even be higher than that since I met him. And he did all of this without any fancy trainers, special diets, nice gym, or oodles of time. He spends more time with his boys than most men I know spend with their kids. He works his ass off with his job, more than most men that I know, and he is a present and loving husband to his wife. But he made the decision that his health could no longer go unchecked. He knew that his leadership is what guides that family. He saw the issue, he made a plan to address it, and he executed it. I hate to make that sound so simple, but that's what he did. I have to pinch myself sometimes that I have such an incredible person, a peer of mine, to look up to what a man should look like. I hope that all of you will use him as an example as well. If he can do it, I promise you, almost all of you can do it. If you're struggling with your weight or being out of shape, the first thing you have to do is actually make that recognition. Look in the mirror and say, hey, this is a problem and I've got to do something about it. From there, we just have to set up a plan. Pick 3 days a week to go for a power walk around the neighborhood. Grab the stroller, grab the kid or multiple kids and just huff it. Don't use the excuse of, I don't know what to do, or I don't have a gym, or I don't have this. Just go move. Start with something. Give me a couple of days of good power walking and I'd be a happy man. From that point, you just have to be consistent. Do that for a month. Do that for 6 weeks. Once you've done that, you've already built the habit in. Now we can do whatever workout we want. This shows your spouse and your children that taking care of your health matters more than a lot of things. That being consistent matters, and that no matter what, you can make time for the priorities in your life. If you don't take care of your own health, fellas, you're not going to be able to take care of your family in the best way possible. My homie has taught me that. And I pray that I can do the same for my own future kids. And I pray that all of you can do the same with yours. God bless. Be strong. Let's get after it, fellas.